same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
Don't let the haters bring you down. Just keep going. Keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your goals.
Sean Combs' own daughters just confirmed his darkest reality. Not in court, but by fleeing it, gagging as the gallery reacted like it was entertainment. Everyone thought the trial was about justice, the sentence about closure, until the twins bolted mid-testimony, their faces mirroring the horror Cassie Ventura described for years, while the jury still cleared him on the worst charges. Sources say they didn't just hear allegations. They recognized voices, details, the same script from the freak off. Recordings prosecutors played as Combs sat stone-faced, while male companions described being forced to finish what he started, on Biggie's t-shirt, in a warehouse packed with his friends' clothes. The numbers don't add up. 200 bottles of baby oil seized. 100 pending lawsuits, a $20 million payout to Cassie in 24 hours. And still, the verdict called it toxic but consensual, while his own children couldn't fake loyalty through the moment. The real sentence isn't 50 months. It's the look his daughters gave him when they realized the man who bought them Range Rovers at 16 is the same one accused of firebombing a rival's car for dating their mother, then bribing hotel staff to bury footage of him kicking her in a hallway. And that's only what's public. The tapes Netflix won't play in full come next.
You had day 17 on the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet. Guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
The second Jesse and Lila Combs stood up and walked out of that Manhattan courtroom, the case stopped being about Sean Combs' legal fate and became about the fracture in his last shield, family. This wasn't theater. Sources say the twins fled, hands over their mouths, eyes wide, like they'd seen something irreversible. The timing mattered. It happened during Daniel Phillips's testimony, the companion who detailed how Combs orchestrated freak-offs, multi-day events where women were allegedly coerced to perform with hired partners while he watched, directed, and sometimes recorded. The girls had endured weeks of graphic testimony without flinching. This was the breaking point. If it was all toxic but consensual, as the defense claimed, why did his own daughters react like they just walked through a crime scene? And why did the jury still acquit him on racketeering, the charge that could have put him away for life?
11.
The court reaches few conclusions. 135 months would be more than necessary. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that, but 14 months time served would not be sufficient. A judge says
the verdict itself was legal whiplash. In July 2025, after 8 weeks, the jury convicted Combs on 2 counts of transporting individuals across state lines for private encounters, each carrying up to 10 years, but acquitted him on racketeering, conspiracy, and human trafficking. Prosecutors argued he ran a criminal enterprise using employees to facilitate these events. The jury believed the women, Cassie Ventura's decade of abuse, the companion's coercion accounts, hotel staff paid to bury surveillance, but decided it didn't rise to organized crime. That's where it breaks. Because if it wasn't coordinated, how do you explain 200 bottles of baby oil and 900 containers of lubricant? Or the alleged $100,000 paid to erase hallway footage of Combs kicking Cassie? Or the freak-offs following a script so rigid participants called it routine? Then came sentencing. 50 months, the max for the counts, but a fraction of what prosecutors sought. The judge called it significant deterrence. Let's be honest, it was the last thing the system could throw at a man long above it. Combs's remorse letter reads coached, not felt. Cassie's statement was raw. She fears swift retribution if he's free. That fear isn't abstract. In 2023, he settled her case for $20 million in under 24 hours. Not to heal, but to silence. Now the question isn't if he'll retaliate, it's who's left to protect those he might target.
If anyone, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's.
The real damage came after the verdict, or from what didn't happen. Combs's empire was supposed to be untouchable. Bad boy, the deals, the endorsements, the myth. The moment the twins walked out, the facade cracked, paychecks delayed. Attorneys unpaid. A staffer quit when family dinner funds were denied, forcing invoices like vendors. TriStar treated him like a credit risk. This was a man who once moved millions with a call. The Holmby Hills mansion, raided in March 2024. Substances, weapon parts, industrial, quantities of lubricant, sat for a year at $61.5 million before being pulled. No one wants a house synonymous with the acts that led to conviction. The silence around it is louder than court transcripts, because no one's talking about the basement. The Visible was seized, but the soundproofed rooms former staff whisper about were never fully searched. Now the property's off the market. The question isn't what's down there, it's who's making sure it stays hidden, and who's paying to keep it that way.
The feelings that I have about the documentary, man, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts, you know, the two people from the courts. So it was nothing new.
Then there's the Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning, which dropped in December like a cultural bomb. Executive produced by 50 Cent, a man who spent 2 decades feuding with Combs. The series uses what Netflix calls legally obtained footage of Combs in the days before his arrest, including a moment where he tells his lawyer, "We have to find somebody who will work with us." The dirtiest kind of media propaganda. The documentary doesn't just rehash the trial. It goes further, alleging Combs' involvement in the assassinations of Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. through interviews with former associates and leaked police files. One of the most damning moments comes from Dwayne Kef D. Davis, the man charged with Shakur's assassination, who claims in a 2009 police interview that Combs offered him $1 million to handle the problem. Combs has always denied this, but the timing is impossible to ignore. The documentary drops while he's sitting in prison. His daughters are being harassed online, and his sons are scrambling to produce their own defensive docuseries for Zeus Network. This isn't just a legal battle anymore. It's a full-blown cultural execution. And this is where people start asking questions. Because if the jury didn't believe the racketeering charges, why are so many people who've never met Combs suddenly acting like they did? The inmates cheering in Fort Dix prison aren't just celebrating a fallen mogul. They're celebrating one of their own, a man who played by rules they understand. The internet trolls flooding the Combs twins' social media with 50 Cent memes aren't just harassing teenagers. They're sending a message. Your father's sins are now your legacy. And the fact that Combs' own legal team is struggling to get paid? That's not just financial mismanagement. That's the sound of an empire realizing its king doesn't have any gold left in the vault. The real reckoning isn't happening in a courtroom. It's happening in the quiet moments. The deleted Instagram comments, the unreturned calls from former allies, the way his son's documentary trailer looks less like a defense and more like a eulogy. But the most telling reaction came from the one place Combs thought he still had control: his family. Christian and Justin Combs announced their own docuseries in December, set to premiere in 2026. The trailer shows them watching trial coverage stone-faced before taking a collect call from their father in prison. It's a clear attempt to rewrite the narrative, to remind the world of Combs' contributions to hip-hop, his philanthropy, his role as a father. But here's the problem. No one's buying it. Not when the twins are disabling comments on their posts. Not when the mansion is unsellable. Not when the only people still cheering for Combs are locked up with him. And that's the thing about legacies. They're not built on what you say you are. They're built on what you do. And right now, what Sean Combs did is sit in a federal prison while the rest of the world moves on without him. Except it doesn't. Because the tapes are still out there. The ones Netflix didn't show in full. The ones his employees might have kept. The ones that could explain why his daughters ran, why the jury flinched, why the basement in that mansion was never fully searched. And if 50 Cent has his way, those tapes are coming. The question isn't if, it's what happens when they do. Because the one thing this trial proved is that the law can only do so much. The court of public opinion? That's a different story. And right now, the jury's still out.
That he has, with others, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case, you would have others charged. It was a statute that designed to get mob bosses, trying to get at criminal behavior that's like a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove like the one thing or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing, but you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal acts.
The warehouse in LA where Sean Combs allegedly used Biggie's t-shirt isn't just another location in this saga. It's the missing piece that connects private life arrangements to something far more disturbing. Sources with direct knowledge of the situation describe it as a space filled with racks of clothing from Combs' past, including items belonging to the notorious B.I.G., arranged like relics in some twisted shrine. This wasn't just a storage unit. It was a stage. And the allegation that Combs grabbed that shirt, used it in the way the lawsuit describes, then threw it at someone else while saying, R.I.P. Biggie, suggests this wasn't about pleasure. It was about power. About defiling something sacred to prove he could. Here's what no one's asking. If he was willing to do that to a deceased man's clothes, what was he capable of doing to the living? The lawsuit claims this happened in September 2020, long after the freak-off parties were supposedly a thing of the past. So either this was a one-time descent into something darker, or it was proof the behavior never really stopped. And that changes everything. The pattern doesn't stop at the warehouse. It stretches back decades to the early 90s, when Combs was building bad boy records and his reputation as a kingmaker. The Quad Studios shooting in 1994, where Shakur was robbed and shot 5 times, was the first major crack in the facade. Shakur himself later said in interviews that he believed Combs was involved, claiming he had proof but wouldn't share it publicly. Fast forward to 2024, and Dwayne "Kef" D. Davis, the man charged in Shakur's tragic killing, tells police in a leaked interview that Combs offered him $1 million to handle the problem. Now, with the Netflix documentary dropping these claims into the public domain, the question isn't just whether Combs was involved. It's whether this was all part of the same system of control. Because if you look at the way he allegedly operated, using career opportunities as leverage, surrounding himself with people who depended on him, ensuring silence through fear or payment, the line between business and something far more sinister starts to blur. And that's before you factor in the way his own employees described the atmosphere at those parties. Not just private gatherings, but carefully staged events where the rules were set by one person, and one person only. What's even more chilling is how this connects to the way his empire was structured. The racketeering charges failed because the jury didn't believe his employees were knowingly complicit. But here's the thing. In Combs' world, you didn't have to be told explicitly what was happening to understand the rules. You just had to know your place. The makeup artists, the security staff, the assistants who allegedly helped set up these events, they weren't just following orders. They were part of a machine where asking questions wasn't just discouraged, it was dangerous. And that machine didn't stop with his professional life. It extended to his family, to the way his sons are now scrambling to produce a documentary that rewrites history while his daughters disable comments on their posts because they can't handle the backlash. This isn't just a family in crisis. It's a family built on a foundation of control. And now that the control is slipping, the cracks are showing in real time.
U.S. Attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there. And it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder.
And then there's the way the industry has responded, or rather hasn't. Where are the statements from the artists Combs launched? The collaborators who benefited from his empire? The executives who turned a blind eye for years? Silence. Because in the world of hip-hop, loyalty isn't just about respect. It's about survival. And right now, survival means pretending this isn't happening. But the problem is the internet doesn't forget. The tapes don't disappear. And the people who were hurt aren't staying quiet anymore. Cassie Ventura's lawsuit was settled in 24 hours, but she still testified. The male companions who described the freak-offs didn't just talk. They provided details. And the hotel staff who allegedly took payments to bury footage? They may end up being the most damaging witnesses of all, because they weren't part of the inner circle. They were just people who saw too much and are finally realizing they don't have to stay silent. The real reckoning isn't coming from the legal system. It's coming from the way the story is being rewritten in real time. Not by Combs or his team, but by the people who were there. The way his daughters reacted in that courtroom wasn't just about what they heard. It was about what they recognized. The way the jury acquitted him on the most serious charges wasn't just a legal failure. It was proof that the system is still broken. And the way his own employees are now coming forward, not just with lawsuits but with stories, isn't just about money. It's about the dam finally breaking. Because for years, the narrative was controlled by one man. Now it's being controlled by the people who were in the room when the cameras were off. And that's the part Combs never planned for. The mansion in Holmby Hills isn't just a property. It's a metaphor, a 17,000 square foot monument to excess, with a basement that was never fully searched, a recording studio where who knows what was captured, and a history that's now toxic to anyone who touches it. The fact that it's been pulled from the market twice isn't just about bad publicity. It's about the fact that no one wants to buy a house where the walls might still be holding secrets. And that's the thing about secrets. They don't stay buried forever. The federal agents took what they could see. The substances, the weapon parts, the lubricants. But the basement, the one with the soundproofed rooms, the one former staffers whisper about, that's the part that's still out there waiting. And if the feds missed something the first time, you can bet someone's making sure it doesn't surface now. But here's the problem. In the age of leaked footage and vengeful insiders, nothing stays hidden forever. Not the tapes, not the basement, not the truth about what really happened in that warehouse.
Did he? Or didn't he? Well, if he didn't, he's got a lot to explain. Well, apparently what Diddy's done now, which is a very interesting thing, is he's on the offensive of sorts. That's right, Sean Diddy Combs has initiated a $100 million defamation lawsuit.
The most damning part of this whole story isn't the allegations. It's the way the pieces fit together. The way the Quad Studios shooting connects to the Shakur claims, which connect to the warehouse incident, which connects to the way his daughters reacted in court. The way the freak-off parties weren't just about private life. They were about power, about proving he could make people do anything if the price was right. And the way his sons are now trying to rewrite history with their own documentary while his daughters are being harassed online isn't just a family divide. It's proof that the legacy he built is crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions. Because you can't be a loving father and a predator. You can't be a mogul and a manipulator. You can't build an empire on control and then act surprised when the people you controlled start talking.
Yeah, this is a real issue. And I think Diddy's lawyers are right when you're talking about somebody who's not, supposed to not be able to be accessed in this way.
And that's super scary. If he in fact woke up with a knife to his throat,
And that's where we are now. The legal battle is over, but the cultural one is just getting started. The inmates in Fort Dix can cheer all they want, but the world outside those walls is moving on, and it's taking Combs' reputation with it. The documentary from his sons might try to paint him as a misunderstood genius, but the Netflix series has already framed him as something far darker. The mansion might sit empty, but the stories about what happened inside it aren't going away. And the tapes, the ones Netflix didn't show in full, the ones his employees might still have, the ones that could explain why his daughters ran out of that courtroom, are still out there waiting. So here's where we leave it. With a man who built his life on the idea that he could control the narrative, sitting in a prison cell while the narrative controls him. With a family divided between those who still believe in the myth and those who can't unsee the truth. With an industry that stayed silent for too long, and a public that's finally starting to ask the right questions. The legal system gave him 50 months. The court of public opinion? That's a different story. And it's not over yet. Now it's your turn. Do you think the jury got it wrong? Do you believe the tapes will ever really surface? Or is this just another case of a powerful man walking away with a slap on the wrist? And what do you make of the way his daughters reacted in that courtroom? Was it shock? Or was it recognition? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story is far from over and we're watching just like you are. Stay sharp.